One of the biggest myths when you think about pairing new learners with preceptors is that the most veteran or experienced nurse on the team is somehow going to be the best preceptor or the best educator for the new nurse. This is absolutely not true. Sometimes your most veteran, experienced, expert nurse on a team is actually the worst teacher. There is something to be said about how proficient expert nurses become. They have such a vast body of knowledge and it becomes deeply ingrained. And they are doing the nursing process and their critical thinking in a very dynamic, simultaneous way. They can actually struggle to break down their considerations and their risk assessments because at this point in their game, they're a well-oiled machine. They are highly proficient. It almost is all instinctual for them. The literature actually tells us there's a little bit of a sweet spot for those who are likely the best preceptors, and it's not always the nurse who's been there for 20 years or the most veteran expert nurse. Sometimes it's the nurse that is about 3 to 10 years-ish of experience. And the thinking behind this is that they have acquired enough experiential knowledge to become clinically competent themselves, but it's also been recent enough that they know what it's like to transition from novice to competent, and they can break down their knowledge into learnable chunks that a new nurse can piece together and understand to cultivate their own competent clinical practice. When you are pairing new nurses and new hires with preceptors, you want to consider a few things. This is a really important decision, by the way. We don't want to just frivolously assign new learners with any old nurse. Just because somebody is technically competent in their practice does not make them a good teacher for new nurses. You want to first poll your nurses and find who wants to actually be a mentor or a preceptor and teach new nurses. If somebody already has the intrinsic interest to do this, you can build off of that. Also, sometimes it's the least experienced nurse in the unit that is the best teacher because they know how to give constructive feedback very well, and they can adjust their teaching style to the style of the learner. And years of experience can be outweighed if somebody has interest in teaching and they can give constructive feedback well, and they just have good emotional intelligence, and they actually want to teach, and they're able to remember what it's like to transition from being a novice to a clinically competent nurse.